What's going on, guys, and welcome back for another suspension video on our VR1 Boost. So as we've been going through, we went through completely stock, we went through just rear torsion springs, heavy, put up to the heavy duty ones, and then now we're getting into shock valving. So if people don't know what shock valving is, it is internally what is inside the shock, and me and Bruce have gone into it a ton. And I will put the link up here to the video of, when we pull one apart and show internally what's going on. So as Polaris sends these from the factory, as we've known for a while now, they are definitely on the softer side, and that comes from valving, or I meant from spring rates and from valving. So what's internally inside of these. And now these velocities especially, and Bruce touched on it in the 100% stock video, is as you click these, the percentage of how stiff it is gets higher as you go in, and then they get extremely rigid in the last couple clicks. So, and that's it for the front and the rear. So what Bruce does is he actually goes inside of them and he actually changes a lot of internals. I mean, he could even go as far as changing the pistons inside of them and so on and so forth, which again is all in that video that I posted a little while ago. So what he does also is he makes it so that the clicks actually do more of a difference in the first, 5, 6, 7 of them. They are incremental, so the graph's very linear. It's not, doesn't go, very low or parallel and then spike up, kind of how they are. So we're going to now switch over. So we still have heavy duties in. That was from last video. Now we're actually going to be bumping, we have some new rears that are going to be going in there that are all valved to how Bruce wants them to be valved. We're going to 100-pound front springs because they are only 80-pound front springs in that. And part numbers for those are right here. And 100-pound springs come on the XER, but they do not fit on these, and the reason is because these are 1 3/4" body shocks. XER is 2 inch, so that obviously is a different internal diameter. So if you wanted to put 100-pound springs on your VR1, you need these, not springs off of XER. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull all the shocks out. I'm going to pull the whole rear suspension out. I actually don't have the front shocks right now, so you won't see me changing them over in this video. But they will be changed. He actually was waiting on a set and they came in, so he's sending them up north, and I'm just gonna grab them up there because we're kind of on a time crunch here. So I am gonna go ahead and pull this out. So it's the two 15 millimeter bolts in the back, 17s up front. We'll put it down, we'll flip it on its side and pull that whole rear suspension out, or rear skid as you call it. And then I will show you guys, especially this rear shock. I'll set it up and I'll push down on them to see, so you can see, especially rebound wise, because that was the big thing with the factory valving and the heavy duties. And we've touched on this before, is rebound. So how fast it comes back up. If there's not a lot of rebound in it, it's very pogoey. If there's a lot of rebound in it, it's very slow. So we have to find that very happy medium, and I'll show you guys with the shocks once I get them out. So how to get the rear skid out: you loosen all the 4 bolts, get it flipped on its side, and then take all the regular, take the bolts out. Most of the times, the ones on the back side, well, at least the front ones are gonna fall out. These are actually put in from the back side, but flip it up on its side and it comes right out. So now over here, we have the complete rear skid. So starters, and there is some tips and tricks to how to get these things out of here. Whoa. But you gotta take the limiter strap off, just one side to release the pressure. And then these are 215s. This one's very straightforward. Watch the bushings and everything. Make sure that you pay attention to how they are, so they go back the correct way. And then this one is a little tricky. These are 213s, if I'm not mistaken. There's a little hole in the bogey wheel here, so when you get this bolt, it kind of just sits in there. There's just enough room. This is the tricky one, though. The easiest way that we're finding to do it is just take this bogey wheel off, so 10 millimeter there. Take that bottom bracket off, which are 213s, and then pull this all the way up, and then you have full access to that. Because if not, there's no way to get that bolt out it's impossible to do it. So that's the easiest way to do that. And so I'm gonna go ahead and do that and release your torsion springs. You're gonna wanna pop them back out and let them just sit kind of over on the side. But that's how you get all them out. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop all these out and then show you guys difference in that rear track shock. Okay, so I have rebuilt shock or valve shock done by Bruce and factory one. So it's gonna be hard for me to do this at the same time, but I'll push them to a certain spot and you can see how fast the, I don't even weigh enough to push both of them down. See how fast that stock one came back? So when we're talking about rebound, that is what we're talking about, how slow that comes back. So as fast as that is, when we start putting big springs to them, they feel like a pogo stick. So Bruce actually goes inside of them and slows them down. So that was a perfect example of what rebound looks like instead of just us telling you about it. Rear shock is installed. Again, that's valved. Rebound is slower. Now we have our front track shock, which is also valved. Rebound slower, and we have our high gear dual rate springs. So this is what I ran exactly last year. Works really, really well. So we're gonna try it on this sled this year. So this front track shock's way easier to put in than that rear shock. That rear shock's just an extra set of hands helps. Let's just put it that way. Rear skid is back in and it feels a million times better just pushing on the back of it. I know, and it's hard for me to just sit here and explain to you guys how big of a difference that valving does, you know, because it's just word of mouth and you're not feeling it. But I've had so many guys that have watched the channel and gone to Bruce for valving and get back to me and they're like, holy smokes, this thing is bajillion times better. And it is. I know it's a little bit extra work, but it's so worth the time and the money to do it. So, I mean, you guys saw me and Bruce push on the back of these factory. Let me get you set up here and see if I can. So this is on softest setting all the way around. When Bruce did this factory setting, it was almost bottomed all the way out just doing this. So it's quite the difference. Like I said, that's clickers low. That is clickers low, torsion springs low. And it is that much of a difference. So again, I'm not gonna show you guys changing the fronts over because I actually don't have them. Bruce sent them up north. So I'm gonna go ride this thing and I'll let you guys know again how good it is or how much better it is. All right, guys, so I went back up and I put some miles on these revalve shocks, and yes, we did do the fronts, and holy crap, what a difference. And we knew that this was gonna make a huge difference, just like we kind of have an idea. We've done this enough years in a row now that we kind of have an understanding of what these sleds like, but it is just crazy when you do it step by step to really feel the difference. So first step was all stock. Second step was just with heavy duty torsions. And now we have all revalve shocks, 100-pound springs up front, heavy duties in rear, and revalve shocks all the way around, I should say. And just these sleds come to life. When they start working the way that they're supposed to and the way that we like them to feel, it's just such a night and day difference. So biggest thing I could say, and don't mind the mess here, it's crazy. The biggest thing is that rear shock. Just like we showed the rebound in the beginning of the video, it is night and day difference of how it feels. So there were times when I just had the heavy duty torsion springs that, you know, if I hit something really big repetitively, and again, just like we said, it felt like it would kind of pogo and bounce up and hit you in the butt. And it does not do that anymore. It's so much more controlled back there. And it gives you just all the confidence in the world that you can go out and hit whatever you want. And the good thing about revalving the shocks, we're now not compensating for lack of valving with the spring. And yes, that is on high right now, but I rode 2 up the last time I rode this. So that's why. But you could actually, and I was able to back off my springs and rely on the valving to work. So you're going through the whole stroke. So it's a completely different feel of a sled. So that's in the rear. Front track shock, that is probably the biggest change throughout this entire thing, is it absorbs what you throw at it. And again, we've talked about it before. That is the first thing that hits, is that front of the track. And if that thing's too soft and it blows through, well, then it's just gonna not feel great, and it's really gonna upset the entire sled. And you're gonna feel that totter effect like we talked about. So revalved front track shock and that high gear dual rate up there really makes entering the bumps 10 times better. You don't get that blow through and feel it right in your feet. It's really a night and day difference. So the rear of the sled is just, it's unbelievable. I mean, it really is. You can go and bounce through and rifle through those whoops and really have confidence that that thing is not going to start swapping on you or buck you or do anything like that. It's crazy. And then what's also great is now that the clickers, instead of it not really doing much until the last 2 or 3 and then it gets really stiff, now you actually have a wide variety of stiffness. And again, these are just one compression knob. They're not high speed, low speed. So you have that adjustability. So clicks, 1 through 8, really, you can tell the difference. It's a gradual increase, not, 1 through 8 is nothing, and then 8 through 12 is like super stiff. So that's huge. And then the fronts, unbelievable difference. It really is. The 100-pound springs in revalve fronts is like, holy smokes. It holds the front of the sled up 10 times better. It absorbs stuff. It doesn't just blow through it, which is, a huge thing that we talk about. It corners better because it's not just going to collapse and blow through that stroke. It's going to keep that sled planted there, and it's going to put the force down through your carbides. It is such a huge difference. And it's hard for me, and I said this before, and it's hard for me to just sit here and say, okay, yes, I felt this. I know you guys trust what I do say, and I appreciate that, but it's very hard for me to sit here and say, yes, it works. It could be anything. And that's why I don't really put it in the videos, because you can't tell too much. But I am here to tell you guys that it is a completely different sled. I went back to number 3 and number 2 on the torsion, or the coupler blocks, just to see. I actually like 3 because these things, especially with these Woody's triggers, 144 of them, this thing hooks and goes. And when it hooks, you can feel that thing. It just totally squats in the butt. So I like having that there. Next trip, whenever we get snow, I'm actually going to go to 4 now that we have the suspension working close to the way that we want it to, which I'm actually heading to Bruce's tomorrow, and we're going to change everything again and try it all over again and try different setups. And that's what we're trying to do for you guys. We're trying to be the test dummies. So if you guys get in touch with me and I send you over to Bruce, we know what works and what does not work. So that's the cool thing. And I know it gets a little frustrating that you bought this sled and then, we're recommending XYZ, but we're just trying to make your riding experience the best that we can. And we are being the test dummies for you. So I hope you guys do appreciate that, because I put on a ton of miles running around to Bruce's. And I don't live in Massachusetts up there. I live in New Jersey, and I drive to Bruce's all the time. So it's a 3-hour ride. So I literally live in my truck. But we are getting these things dialed in little by little. We have a couple other tricks up our sleeves that we're going to try throughout the year, and I will keep you guys posted. But long story short, the end of the day, highly recommend a revalve, highly recommend shock or spring changes kind of all around. And I'm always happy to help you guys, kind of point you in the right direction of what to do as always. But wow, what a difference. It's exciting to ride. It's fun to ride. I have confidence back in the sled, and now we're really time to have fun. So if you guys have any questions about valving, about springs, about anything, let me know. I highly recommend getting a shock revalve. Bruce from Southside Sales and Service can help you. That is who does all of mine. That is the only man on this planet that I trust doing it. He has been in it for 40 plus years, and he does it every single day. And people that I have sent to him that have taken the time to pull their shocks off and kind of get our entire package are like, holy smokes. And I hope to get some of those guys, I hope to run into some of you guys throughout the season up on the hill or where Bruce rides in Massachusetts or Vermont to kind of do some testimonials, because that is proof in the pudding that what we're telling you really does work, and it does make a difference. So I hope you guys appreciate it. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.